Most people can't afford to buy every single game that comes out for the Quest platform, so today I've got a special list for you that's going to go over my top games that are the best value for your money. That means games you can sink a ton of time into that are the best value for the dollar you're going to spend, from a gameplay standpoint, quality, and from the length of gameplay. I've picked my top 10 games that are from different genres and different types of games. For me, these are the games that if you spend money on, they're worth it and you get plenty of gameplay for the money that you're spending. Let's go ahead and talk about what games are the best value for your money on the Quest 2. Alright, let's start off with the game that inspired this video, Ultrawings 2. Ultrawings 2 is a brand new flight simulator combat arcade-style game that'll have you jumping into 5 different planes, completing missions, fighting against enemies, and unlocking new islands as you progress through the game. Now, the game has somewhere around 40 plus hours of total gameplay. The game itself will have you completing missions on every single island. Just because you've unlocked a new plane doesn't mean you won't go back to the old planes. This means all told, you'll have 5 aircraft with 5 sets of missions on all 4 islands, and you'll have to earn your money by doing these missions to unlock both the aircraft and 2 different airports on the 4 islands. Every aircraft, for the most part, has its own style of missions. There's a literal amazing amount of content here, so if you're a flight sim fan or if you're looking for something with a massive amount of longevity, then Ultrawings 2 is definitely a game I would be looking at. And next month, they're going to start testing a beta for a free update that'll bring multiplayer to the game, which will add even more to the game as well. Next up, let's talk about a game that doesn't get enough love in my opinion, and that is Crashland. Crashland is a 1999 game, and it is really hard. There are 24 different missions set across different biomes, whether it's a desert or a mountain. You'll be fighting against 50 different types of deadly aliens and creatures. And trust me when I say this will take you a while to complete. And by a while, I would say probably 10 plus hours. Each level gets progressively harder, so you will be playing some of these levels over again. From the terrifying nighttime levels to the terrifying huge creatures, you'll be upgrading perks and unlockables on your way through this game, trying to survive until you are rescued. Crashlands is definitely something I would check out, and for $19.99, it's a great deal. Next up, let's talk about another game that I think doesn't get enough love, and that is called Lies Beneath. Lies Beneath is a $29.99 story-based game. It is a pretty scary horror-type shooter. It takes somewhere around 7 to 8 hours in my estimation to complete, which is pretty high for a story-based game on the Quest 2. If you're looking for a horror story shooter with a really cool art style, some really cool set pieces, and just a really entertaining story overall that does not get anywhere near enough love on the platform, I think you should definitely be checking out Lies Beneath. For the price of $29.99, this is one of the better and longer story campaigns you'll find on Quest 2. So if you're a fan of horror games and you're looking for a longer game you can sink some time into, then Lies Beneath should definitely be on your list. Next up, Tarzan VR. Wait just a second, sorry, that's the absolutely wrong list. Next up is Until You Fall. Until You Fall is $24.99. It's an arcade-inspired VR hack-and-slash roguelite. That means that you will play through runs in this game to get as far as you can, and when you die, you start back at the beginning. But you get to unlock additional weapons, abilities, and each run is totally random with randomized rewards, power-ups, different enemies, rooms. No 2 runs will be the same, which really means a lot of additional gameplay for this game. There are several game modes from easy all the way up to what I think is called Nightmare. I have not completed the entire game myself, but all told, I've seen several people say that it's between 10 to 15 hours in length to complete it on one difficulty level. So that doesn't include playing through the harder game modes, and again, it's different every time you play it. It is a roguelite, different enemies, different configurations. So because of that, the game always changes, and it really adds a massive amount of replayability. $24.99, you're getting hours and hours, dozens of hours if you choose, as you get better at the game to just continuously be playing. In fact, I know of some people that have spent dozens of hours in this game and they still enjoy jumping in and trying to play better. Next up, I'm going to mention another roguelite type of game, and that is Cosmodread. Cosmodread is another scary game, but as a not fan of scary games, it's one of those games you'll want to play if you can get over your fear of the dark and creepy aliens. It is a fantastic roguelite game that will have you working your way through a procedurally generated spaceship. You'll have to fight your way and hide your way from these alien creatures to try to find your way off the ship. Each run will be different than the last as the ship changes every single time. Runs can be quite long too. I spent an hour and 15 to an hour and a half on one run and died right before I got off the ship and had to start all the way back at the beginning. But that's okay because the ship changes, and as you play through, you get different upgrades. You're able to collect different recipes to unlock new weapons. Even upon beating this game, you'll be able to play through and still have a totally different experience, which again, with roguelite is the reason I'm adding some of these to this list, because for the money, which Cosmodread comes in at an incredible $14.99, it is a great value when you can have a game that adds a ton of replayability. Next up on the list, let's talk about The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners. The main story takes between 12 and 14 hours to complete, and it is a true story-based game where you'll be surviving. It's kind of a survival horror type of game mixed with an action shooter with zombies, where you will be dispatching zombies as you try to survive and progress through the story. And like I said, this list is about the most value for your money, and The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners, if you're looking for a story-based game, is definitely one of the ones that's up there for most value for money. Coming in at $39.99 is one of the more expensive games on this list, but it's also one of the most immersive worlds and one of the longer campaigns that you can play through. Next, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 is the same price as The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners at $39.99. You've probably completed this game in the past on another platform, and if you haven't, then that's okay because it's a totally different game. The main story takes somewhere around, 15 hours, I think it is, to complete, and it'll have you playing through a stellar story-based campaign set in the Resident Evil world. If you've not played this, I definitely recommend playing it, and even if you have VR, brings a totally new dimension to this game. So if you're looking for another story-based game, Resident Evil 4 is definitely something that should be on your list. I wanted to mention at least one sports game on this list, so I'm going to put together Golf Plus and Walkabout Mini Golf. Both of those games for me have a lot of replayability. Now, it's super subjective. Some games have online, some don't. But Golf Plus and Walkabout Mini Golf are two of the best games from a mechanics standpoint and a fun and length of game standpoint. Obviously, playing golf is subjective, so if you don't enjoy golf, you might not like either of these games, but starting with Golf Plus, there's multitudes of modes, from playing Top Golf to playing Pro Putt, and moving over to the Full Swing Golf. Walkabout Mini Golf also is one of the most updated games on the Quest platform. They keep adding more miniature golf courses. It is also, in my opinion, one of the best multiplayer games, as it's some of the most fun you can have, hanging out with friends, family, or strangers playing miniature golf. All right, I'm going to mention one more roguelite style game, and that is Sweet Surrender. Another game I think is underutilized and underrated, with more updates coming and having been updated since launch. You'll be going through runs, collecting upgrades, and unlocking new weapons as you go, trying to work your way from the bottom level of a dystopian mega tower all the way to the top. The action is really well done. It's super satisfying as you battle these different types of enemy robots. There's upgrades, melee weapons. Some of the weapons are actually really cool, and I love the chip system, allowing you to use chips for upgrades. Each level is, again, procedurally generated, so every time you play through, it's going to be totally different than the time before. They've even recently added in a run-to-run progression with unlockable and upgradable classes to the game. Sweet Surrender is $24.99, and as I mentioned before, roguelite games are a great way to get the most value for your money, and Sweet Surrender is a fantastic, fun time to play. All right, let's talk about one more story-based game, and that is Resist. This kind of flew under the radar because it just kind of popped out of nowhere. But Resist is a Spider-Man-esque game where you'll be swinging around a city, fighting against enemy robots, some of them giant, some of them drone-type robots, as you play through a story campaign. It's actually one of the best acted story games that I've played on the Quest 2, although there is some crass language in it that was surprising to me. So if you are looking for something to play for a younger audience, or you don't appreciate harsh language in a game, then you might want to give this one a pass, as it does have quite a few F-bombs and some other language, which I've seen a few people surprised at given the almost cartoonish or Spider-Man-ish feel to the trailer and the gameplay itself. The game itself will take you about 5 to 7 hours to complete overall, but it is an open-ended game, so you can continue to play through the city and swing around. Plus, the developer is adding in additional content to the game that they've said is going to be free updates which will add even more length to the game as well. Coming in at just $19.99, it's actually one of the best looking games on the Quest as well. It feels fantastic to swing around in. The city comes to life with people and cars. The weather is awesome to swing through. The nighttime, the daytime, dusk and dawn, it's all there. It feels like a living, breathing city, and it's done extremely well. So if you're looking for a story game where you can feel like a superhero and shoot guns when you swing through the city, this is definitely something that I'd keep on my radar. Now, I want to quickly mention a couple of bonus games that didn't necessarily make it on my list for one reason or another. First off is Zenith. This is a brand new MMO that just recently launched on the Quest, and it is $29.99. There are hours of content in the game. As you upgrade your character, they're adding new classes in soon. There's a lot going on with it, so if you're looking for an online MMO to sink hours into, Zenith is definitely the one to do that with right now. Also, After the Fall, I love the game. You can play it either solo, co-op, or there's even a Tundra Dome to play competitively. The main reason I didn't add this directly on the list is because while it's fun, it only has a handful of levels, and although they're really cool and one of the best, most fun games to play on the Quest, some people have said that there's just not enough content there yet to justify jumping in and spending tons of hours. And although I love the game and could spend a lot of time in it, it's not something once I beat the game I find myself drawn back to all of the time. One last game I wanted to throw on the list, and that's because it is a classic and it's only $9.99. That is Apex Construct. This is a bow and arrow story-based game that is probably one of the most fantastically told stories on the Quest platform. The game itself has been upgraded for Quest 2, so the visuals are great. The gameplay is awesome. The story is intriguing. Overall, it's a fantastic game. Sorry, one more honorable mention, and that is Song in the Smoke. This probably should have been on my primary part of my list, but I just wanted to mention it really quick. It's $29.99. There's 10 plus or 12 plus hours, depending on how long you play through this game. It's a survival-based game. It's a lot of fun. It can be a very hard game to play. So if you're not looking for a pretty difficult survival game, I'd steer clear of this. It is very rewarding, though, when you can hunt things, find things, survive, make the cloth, build the fires. For me, I didn't add it to the main part of my list just because there was so much to have to remember for recipes. It's not my type of game, but it does add a good value for your money. So if you're looking for a survival game right now, this is definitely the best one to pick up. For $29.99, it'll give you hours of content to play. There you go. That is my top list for the best value for your money games, along with some honorable mentions. What do you think, though? Let me know down in the comment what the best game you've bought from a value standpoint, for the amount of gameplay you get for the dollars that you spend. Let me know in the comments what you think and what games that I not include on my list you think should be there. Plus, if you want to get the most out of your Quest and your Quest 2, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down there and the bell icon for notifications, and you can check out even more of my videos right over there. Thank you so much for watching, stay safe, and happy questing.